let's get to JD Vance. So JD Vance apparently had something to say about the situation, and he ripped him. They saying that he ripped him. I didn't review it yet. I wanted to review it in real time, just like with you guys. I'm going to be reading that super chat shortly. Before we get into all of the other stuff. JD Vance had an opinion on this situation, and he said, listen, I don't agree with the fact that this man is lying. Lying should absolutely be out of the question. It doesn't matter of whether or not you were there or not. Just stand on what you stand on. You are who you are. You were what you were. You is who you is. So let's get into JD Vance. And I heard that JD Vance was actually taking questions, which we know that Kamala Harris and Walz will never take questions from reporters unless they can pre-plan the questions and tell them what to ask them.
Sir.
Last night, Governor Walz suggested that because of your Ivy League education and your Silicon backing your political career, that you yourself are part of the elite. What are your first impressions of them trying to frame you this way to the American public?
Well, look, I came from a family where nobody in my family had ever gone to law school. I grew up in a poor family. The fact that Tim Walz wants to turn it into a bad thing, that I actually worked myself through college, through law school, and made something myself, to me, that's the American dream. And if Tim Walz wants to insult it, I think that's frankly pretty bizarre. Now, look, what really bothers me about Tim Walz,
and that is bizarre in my opinion. If you grew up in a poor family, in a dysfunctional family, which a lot of us here can actually relate to that story, and then you worked your way up, all the way up and through Ivy League school, married the person that you met in college, had children, and then basically had a stellar background when it comes to doing the right thing, I think that very much is the American dream. That's the thing that most people want. You come from nothing, you can make yourself into anything. That's the American dream, right? How is that something that's to be looked down upon? Because I became successful?
It's not even the positions that he's taken, though certainly he has been a far left radical. You know what really bothers me about Tim Walz as a Marine who served his country in uniform? When the United States Marine Corps, when the United States of America asked me to go to Iraq to serve my country, I did it. I did what they asked me to do it, and I did it honorably, and I'm very proud of that service. When Tim Walz was asked by his country to go to Iraq, you know what he did? He dropped out of the Army and allowed his unit to go without him, a fact that he's been criticized for aggressively by a lot of the people that he served with. I think it's shameful to prepare your unit to go to Iraq, to make a promise that you're going to follow through, and then to drop out right before you actually have to go. I also think it's dishonest. Something, again, if you guys ever get an opportunity to ask Tim Walz or Kamala Harris some questions, he made this interesting comment that the Kamala Harris campaign put out there, and I bet they're regretting they put it out there now, because he said that and he was making a point about gun control, he said we shouldn't allow weapons that I used in war to be on America's streets. Well, I wonder, Tim Walz, when were you ever in war? What was this weapon that you carried into war, given that you abandoned your unit right before they went to Iraq, and he has not spent a day in a combat zone? What bothers me about Tim Walz is the stolen valor garbage. Do not pretend to be something that you're not. And if he wants to criticize me for getting an Ivy League education, I'm proud of the fact that my mamaw supported me, that I was able to make something of myself. I'd be ashamed if I was him and I lied about my military service like he did.
I don't know how any more direct you can be. Why in the world would this man ever want to stand in front of JD Vance? I know that this guy, he didn't know what he was getting himself into when he got into it. It's one thing to put on a uniform, but it's another thing to be called upon and then abandon what it is that you then benefited from and then still use it as a talking point to benefit from it further into your career. So when it was time to actually get boots on the ground, the thing that they trained you for and they paid you for and they paid all of the benefits for and they was giving you all of the things that you ever wanted as far as how your future was going to look, when it was time to put boots on the ground, you abandon it. Okay, cool. We all sometimes get a little bit scared. Some of us get a little bit scared. The thing that we train for, we not necessarily prepared for. I get it. I ain't tripping off that. But then you go on, you still use it as a talking point as though you actually did it and you was actually deployed. Because it's not disrespectful to me because I'm not a part of the military. It's disrespectful to the people that actually is a part of the military and was the ones that actually served our country all the way through and did what was asked of them so that you can protect our American freedoms. It's not disrespectful to me. It's disrespectful to the people that you asking to vote from. I'm not tripping. I get it. You jazzed up your resume. I see it happen in the hood all the time. They say, hey, man, I need a job, bro. I said, all right, man, listen. What was you used to do? What did you used to do? I used to put up books on the shelf. All right, so you was a wood engineer for literature for a greater cause. Okay, we're going to go ahead and put that on the resume. I get it. I understand it. But the veterans are saying something different. The people that been in the military, they saying it a lot. They say, listen, man, that's whack, bro. We was dependent on you. And I ain't even tripping at the fact that you cowered out. It's cool. I seen some people cower out on a movie, Saving Private Ryan. You know what I'm saying? But they said, hold on, dog. You ain't gonna act like you was just out here serving and carrying weapons, and that's why you now want to ban weapons inside of the United States of America with this liberal view. Hold on, dog. You're not gonna come over here and get this all of this accolades and this valor and have people praising you for something that you wasn't a part of. It's disrespectful to them, to the military members. Forget me. Don't nobody care about what Anton Daniels think except for when we on the internet. You know what I'm saying? It's about them. The military members have said, listen, bro, your stolen valor is invalid. How do y'all feel if, for all of you sorority sisters and fraternity men that's out here, because I never been in a fraternity. I never been in a part of the Divine Nine. How do y'all feel about somebody? Even gang members don't like when people false flag. They said, dog, you wasn't really a blood. I mean, that's not nothing to be proud of, but stand on the fact that you was never a blood. You know, we see people, we got this thing in Detroit, and I'm gonna play JD Vance some more. We got this thing in Detroit, right? And I'm sure that it happens in different cities across the country, but I can only speak to my experience. We have this thing in Detroit where it's a lot of people that say they from Detroit, but they never really ever from Detroit. They wasn't born in the city. They never lived in the city. They never worked in the city. They was in around the city. And it's some phenomenal suburbs. Clarence parents had a really good marriage, right? Clarence parents had a really good marriage. And they pretend like they are part of the hood as though that's something that we should be proud of. No, we wanted to get out of the hood. I would have killed to be raised in a space where you was raised at. I know that I was blessed just to have a father in my life that was married to my mother in my household. And so I would never say, oh man, I grew up without a father. No, my father was very present in my life, and I was thankful because he gave me an example of how it was that I was supposed to raise my family and what a man was supposed to be. It's one of the reasons why I am who I am today. Celebrate it. Celebrate your accolades. Let's not pretend like you're more than what you really are. And so as people, they say, y'all, no, man, I'm from Detroit. And so you can wear the glasses and you can talk the slang. I mean, you can wear the shoes and you going to wear your Pradas with your buffs. You know what I'm saying? And you got your D hat on. But when we start putting that magnifying glass up, you was slumming. You went to a concert here. You didn't live here. You know what I'm saying? It's different. And it doesn't make you less of a person, but for the people that's actually in the trenches in Detroit and had to walk past some pit bulls every day, and they had to walk over that glass in order to get to school, and that bando that was over there, and the crack house that was over there, and them prostitutes that was over there, and had to deal with the DPD or gang squad, it's different. It's a completely different experience. And so all the military members is just saying is, who are you? And did you benefit from false flagging? Gang members don't even like for you to say that you was a part of something that you wasn't a part of. Why would you even want to be a part of that in the first place? If that's not what you really were. That's all they saying. That's all we saying. Where's your credibility flew out the window 2 days into being nominated for vice presidential candidate of the United States of America.
Sir.
And why? And another reason, why won't Kamala Harris and Walz actually take questions from people, reporters, anybody? They haven't appeared on the show. They haven't been grilled. Since they become candidates for vice president of the United States of America, they have not in any way, shape, or form taken any questions from anybody that can ask them something reasonable so that we can better understand why they made some of the decisions that they made in their administration and in their history. Nobody is able to ask these people questions. The only thing they do is campaign stops and rallies. That's it. That's it.
A little louder, sorry.
Will Jones from Local 4. I want
Yes,
to talk
sir.
a little bit about race. I was at the National Association of Black Journalists conference last
Yes,
week
sir.
where President Trump made some attacks on Vice President Harris's biracial heritage. You're married to an Indian American woman. You have biracial children. How do you explain his attacks, and what is your reaction to his attacks as a father of biracial children?
Yes, sir. So I am the father of biracial children. Actually, my wife is here today. My kids are back home with my aunt today. And look, I was not bothered at all by what President Trump said, and I didn't take it as an attack on Kamala Harris's biracial background at all. What I took it as was an attack on Kamala Harris being a chameleon. She pretends to be one thing when she's in front of one audience. She pretends to be something else when she's in front of another audience. And I think he was observing the basic foundational reality that Kamala Harris pretends to be something different depending on which audience she's speaking to. Now, she has been able to hide this a little bit because for the past couple of weeks, she only speaks in front of a teleprompter. She never gives unscripted remarks, and she's hidden from the American media and from the American people. But we know she's a chameleon. We know she's a person who promised to defund the police and now wants to pretend she's a tough prosecutor. She said that she would be our border czar, and yet for 3.5 years, we have an open border. She said that she would bring some common sense and lower inflation to our economic policies, and yet she cast the deciding vote that raised interest rates, raised home
Everything that's done in the dark don't look good in the light.
prices, and raised food prices. Donald Trump said something very simple, totally inoffensive, but frankly, obviously true to me, which is that Kamala Harris is a chameleon. She's a fake, and the American people have to look at her record if we actually want to know how she stands on the issues, because her words simply can't be trusted. Sir.
Beautiful, beautiful. And you know what else is beautiful about this is that he's still willing to take questions. He's willing to take questions. He's willing to take questions from reporters, unscripted, and then address the issue. And the fact of the matter is this, and this is the beautiful part about this. Thank you, JD Vance, for giving us more context and clarity to what it is that he meant. This is the beautiful part about it. We don't need to see anything more from Kamala Harris. We already know who she is. Nobody is disillusioned. Even the black community knows who Kamala Harris is. This is a non-starter. This is a non-issue. We know who Kamala Harris is. It is not a secret. We seen her. We seen her in school, right? We know her type. We know the smile. We know everything. We choose to ignore it as a culture because we want to believe that something is wrong with Donald Trump and the right thing to do. It's almost like a teacher telling you, hey, man, don't go down that pathway. Don't hang out with them. All of them dudes over there, they going to jail. You don't have to be like them, but we just got this curse on us for some reason, that we just continue to pull ourselves into this thing that is not best for us. For what reason? I have no clue. I don't know if it just came as a result of being born with this skin color and pigmentation, but it's a curse of a mentality that we have as a culture that continues to pull us down this pathway to ignore all logic, all reason, all evidence that says to the contrary. There are people that said, listen, man, she withheld evidence and didn't allow me to take a DNA test to prove my innocence, and I was on death row, and it took somebody else to step in when she was a prosecutor over in San Francisco in order to allow for me to even be able to prove my innocence. It's people everywhere that said, listen, bruh, she ain't what you think she is. We don't even have to go any further into what other people saying. Forget what other people saying. Look at what you dealt with over the last 3.5 years and tell me that you're better off than you was in 2018, 2017, 2016, 2019. Just tell me. Tell me that you're better off now than you was 7 years ago. Tell me that you were able to go to the grocery store and feel comfortable walking out. Tell me that when you get your paycheck at the end of the month, that you're not worried about the possibility of getting laid off, because everybody getting laid off right now. They trying to push this election through so fast and cover up the fact that tech is laying off, everybody laying off, inflation is crazy, borders is open, Home Depot got migrants standing all up and down the strip trying to get work and not paying taxes, gig workers. Every time I get a delivery, it's from Miguel. Miguel keep delivering my acai bowl. Every single morning, Miguel show up. Hola, señor. Hola, señor Daniels. What's up, Miguel? Learned some English today. Word, Miguel. I can't even hate on you. I can't hate on you, because if they let you in, who am I to tell you that you shouldn't take advantage of the opportunity? I'm here, Senor Daniels. Senor Daniels, huh? All right. Listen, I'm rolling. It is what it is. We know. It is not a secret. We know. We ain't dumb. We real smart when it's convenient. We know that it ain't best for us. We let that thing just continue to gnaw at us. We know that this girl right here, look, ask your uncle. Ask your uncle. And if he act like he don't know, then ask him this story. And then we're going to move over to the next thing. Say, hey, when you was rolling down the street that day and you seen that fine girl walking down the street with them high heels on and that white dress, you knew she was a prostitute, didn't you? He going to say, I didn't know. She told you a price, I thought she was just a working girl. Unc knew she was a prostitute, but Unc still seen it through. You know why? Because he was just willing to risk it all for no reason. That's the same way that I equate people from the culture that continue to vote based off of identity politics. They just willing to risk it. They just gonna take a chance of the police getting them arrested, getting on a sex offenders list, right? Getting on the sex offenders list, possibly getting the 2-for-1 chlamydia and herpes at the same time. All for what? All for what? For some random box that's walking down the street? You know that that's a prostitute. You know that that's a prostitute. Everything in you was saying, no, don't do it, no, don't do it. And now you're going through a divorce. And it's the same thing as far as what happened during the Biden-Harris administration. We let him in because Biden said, if you don't vote for me, you're not black. And what did we do? What do we do as a country? I didn't do it, but I got to be a part of the collective because he was all of our president. He's still all of our president. We don't even know if he's still there. He said that he was going to bed at 8 p.m. every day. What the fuck? What kind of president go to bed at 8 p.m.? Don't you know that over there in India, they own a different time zone than us? And over there in Japan, that they got a whole nother time zone and still stuff that's happening over there? But we seen it through. In the same way that your uncle got chlamydia and herpes and arrested and lost his marriage, you got inflation, immigration, layoffs, and you lost your house. Unc lost his freedom, got put on the sex offenders list, got arrested, and got chlamydia and herpes at the same time. You lost your house, and you got inflation, and you got laid off, and you can't support your children no more. But both of y'all seen it through. Both America and Unc seen it through. That's how my C student brain works. I can't explain it the way that they explain it on the regular news. I got to explain it in a way that I know because of the thing that I've seen happen in real life. I got to explain. You knew you wasn't supposed to be driving without insurance, and you just went out there and got caught in an accident. And when the police get behind you, you start doing like this. You knew you ain't had no license. It's the same thing as far as dealing with this administration. The way that my brain work is different. I'm sorry. Hit a like for the algorithm, subscribe to the channel, turn on the notifications. That's how I see things. That's how I see things. I run this morning show logically but then I have to break it down from a C student's perspective so that the people can better understand it. So now y'all can relate to what we saying. It's not that they smarter than y'all, it's just that they using different lingo. That's my gift. That's my gift. I know how to take it, translate it, and then figure out how we can use it more effectively because I can make it relatable to the people. That's my gift. Ask Unc. Go talk to Unc. Let me read some.